Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Welcome to MF is in the Hub's Fantasy Football Waiver Wire Show every Monday at 8:45 p.m. Eastern, 5:45 p.m. Pacific. It is Waiver Wire Week 9, NFL Week 10. I'm here as always with Kasey, Vlad to the Bone Scheinbold, and Ross the Boss.
Hey everybody, I'm Ross the Boss, and I want to talk fantasy football and waiver wire pickups with you, cowboy.
All right, well, before you do, we are joined once again by Jim Ginocchio, former sports broadcaster with Turner Broadcasting and NBC. Jim, thank you for being here with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to it.
We always
Jim,
love when you're here.
Before we get started,
missed you.
First of all, you know I'm a Bengal fan. We know Dan's a Browns fan. Your Browns play a lot better without Odell Beckham Jr. It's a good thing that he's off the team because they play like a million times better. You had a 60-yard run, a 60-yard pass, a 60-yard defensive play for a touchdown. The Browns are back, baby. They're the team that beat in the AFC.
Oh my God, I love it, Ross.
That just came from a Bengals fan.
I know you follow the Browns fanatically, like a nut.
I did not expect that.
Listen, why do they play so much better without a superstar receiver on their team? I just don't understand the whole philosophy behind it. Tell me.
Thank you for setting me up for this rant. The first thing is OBJ is not a superstar wide receiver. He hasn't been for years. He basically is an extremely overrated wide receiver, and he is a complete cancer in the clubhouse. His father can join him, and don't let his ass hit him on the way out the door. No, the door hit him on the way out of his ass. I can't even remember what the phrase is. I'm so excited.
Close enough. Don't let the door hit you with a good
listen, I actually have been saying for 2 years, because I've seen it. Odell Beckham gets hurt. Baker Mayfield relaxes. He becomes a much better player. The whole team is better. People they underestimate how much a clubhouse cancer like that causes problems. You see him on the field, and you're like, oh, Odell made some plays. He actually blocked there. Big deal. The guy is causing problems everywhere he goes. LeBron James, meanwhile, said, he got in on the free OBJ stuff. Sometimes I don't like LeBron. LeBron, this is one of those times. You need to show the right modeling for people. What OBJ is doing is not good. Actually, the term free OBJ, I was all for it. Yes. Free him.
Free him from what?
From being on our team, please.
Oh, I mean, like free him like it's
no. They were saying. Ross, they were saying free him
football. Like, what are we freeing this guy from?
I know, they were saying, like, unleash him. But the thing is, he's not been leashed. He just sucks. He's not that good of a player.
Wow. Those are big words. I remember the heyday when he was a Giant, Kasey Scheinfold. That's all he talked about was
just a one-handed catch.
That's all he talked about.
That's when he was an actual superstar, though.
I remember he used to go out there and catch those one-hand passes. Remember that? And all the fans go, ooh, I could do that. Jim Ginocchio can catch with one hand. It's not a big deal.
Absolutely.
The problem with OBJ is he can't catch two-handed passes. All right, now let's get into it with QBs. People are here. Listen, he's earned it. People are here to find out which players to pick up. Remember, we're talking about Yahoo rosters 60% and under. We're going to go with quarterbacks. Ross, I'm going to start with you so you don't throw a temper tantrum. I can't do it here.
Well, first of all, if you don't have a quarterback on your team that's that isn't a superstar, you're not going to win your league. So there you go. If you're listening to
Listen, you got the bye weeks.
I know this way. I'm teasing everybody. So the guy that had the biggest surprise yesterday was Teddy Bridgewater. He had a rushing touchdown, a patching touchdown. He had 249 yards. He was almost flawless. Didn't have any mistakes for Denver. They upset another upset. They upset Dallas in Dallas after a bye week with Prescott starting. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, and losing Von Miller. I mean, I don't have an explanation why they won, but a big part of it is because Teddy Bridgewater. And I feel if you get Teddy Bridgewater, he's not going to hurt you. I would say he's good for 2 or 3 touchdowns a game, maybe a rushing touchdown. So pick him up if you need a quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater, he's my number one quarterback. That's fake.
Who do you have? Do you agree on Teddy Bridgewater, or you got?
Well, I agree. Teddy had a good game yesterday, and I was so happy that they beat the Cowboys. I was just so happy that they beat him in Dallas. I mean, Dak is back, and he came back all right. He fell on his Cowboys fans
are the most obnoxious fans in the world. I mean, this guy Kevin Weldon. That's all he talks about of the Cowboys. I'm tired of it. Sorry, Kevin Weldon, your Cowboys fell. They fell poorly.
I mean, I love it. Dak didn't do anything until it was 30-0. I mean, it was crazy. But I think that, it's interesting. What quarterback would I pick up if I needed a quarterback? Well, I'll tell you what. Right now, my starting quarterback on my team is Patrick Mahomes. So I need a quarterback. So I need Mac Jones. Mac Jones is at least putting up some decent numbers. I mean, the Patriots are winning. But Mac Jones had more points yesterday than my number one quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. So what does that tell you?
Listen, Patrick Mahomes is causing a lot of problems for some fantasy football teams. Mine is one of them in one of my leagues. I sold him in Dynasty for a gold mine. And that's
unbelievable. 10 interceptions, guys. 10 interceptions for Patrick Mahomes this year. That's unbelievable.
He led the league going into week 9.
He still does. I mean, he was your number one pick. I know, Jim, in fantasy football, it's a huge mistake. We'll talk about that later. But,
that's because
all that being said, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I feel he's the biggest disappointment in fantasy football this year. It's not Allen Robinson. It is Patrick Mahomes.
I disagree.
Tyreek Hill's a huge disappointment.
I disagree.
Another one.
I don't think he's the biggest disappointment. I think Christian McCaffrey is the biggest disappointment in fantasy football this year, just because he hasn't been on the field since week 3.
I like that. Okay.
But my top quarterback for this week, and I can't believe he's still only 60% owned. This guy's ranked 12th on the season in his overall rating for Yahoo, and that's Carson Wentz. The guy's just been awesome the last 5 weeks. He might be, or 4 weeks, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in football, and he's still only 60% owned.
So you mean to tell me the guy that threw the left-handed throw out of the end zone last week?
You're right. 2 weeks ago.
It was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Last week he dominated whoever they played.
And then Stafford tried to do the same thing this week.
Yeah. Tennessee just does that to you, I guess. I don't know. But I have to accept that as much as I wouldn't trust him as my real life quarterback for fantasy purposes, he's absolutely tearing it up.
Yeah, I actually did this. I get many things wrong, especially in fantasy football, but I was right about Carson Wentz. I thought he was going to have a pretty good year. He's up to 60%, so you may not hear about him again unless he has a dip, and then we won't be recommending him. So, hey, this is your chance. Carson Wentz at 60 is my top guy. I think the next best guy out there is Matt Ryan.
Yep.
55% owned.
Matty Ice.
And you've been touting him for a few weeks, too.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with him. You could have him in your quarterback spot for 3 or even 4 weeks, and you're going to be fine. He's going to put up decent numbers. I think he's so much better than everybody else who's out there. So Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan are my top 2 pickups. Anybody else that we want to mention before we move on?
I do want to give props to first Matt Ryan upsetting New Orleans in New Orleans. Huge win. Unbelievable. Probably the biggest upset is Trevor Lawrence beating the Bills. Everybody had the Bills as the number one team in the AFC. Not anymore. I don't even know who the number one teams are anymore. What happened yesterday? I give up. I throw my hands up in the air, and I don't. My power ratings are all over the place. But Trevor Lawrence, I love this kid. That kid's just a winner. With the hair and the whole thing.
But for fantasy purposes, Ross, let's remember. I think the final score of the game was 9-6. So let's not look at it as fantasy gold. The guy might be a winner and pulled off a great upset, but 9-6.
Yeah, but the field goal kicker got more points than him.
Okay, I'm just trying to be optimist. You guys always have to tear me down. I mentioned Trevor Lawrence. You guys attack me because you guys don't like he went to Clemson. You don't like his hair. You don't like his look. You don't like. I don't care what you guys think. I like Trevor Lawrence.
Off the rails.
The other guy I'd throw. I think we have to accept is Ben Roethlisberger can still be useful in fantasy football from time to time. I'm not saying you want him to carry your team. Hopefully you don't have an injury and you have to play him. But as a bye week fill-in. He seems to still get you 1 or 2. He seems to get you a couple touchdowns a week. I mean, he loves his checkoff, so he'll throw to Najee Harris. He'll throw to Pat Freiermuth.
It's not pretty, but it's
solid numbers. At the end of the day, it works.
And listen, if he's not useful on your team, he could be useful on the other team because sometimes he really doesn't play very well. So that can be useful too. All right, guys, we're going to go to our sponsor now, Kill Cliff CBD, the best tasting CBD drink in the world. Orange Kush, Mango Tango, Strawberry Days, the grapest of all time, and Joe Rogan's Spicy Pineapple, called the Flaming Joe. Founded by a Navy SEAL for those who aren't Navy SEALs, it's the biggest no-brainer in the history of drinks. Go to killcliff.com. All right, guys, running backs. Now, at this point in the year, running backs especially, the waiver wire has often been kind of scoured clean, but there's still some gems out there, as far as I can tell. Jim, Give us one guy that you would pick up.
Nyheim Hines from Indianapolis, without a doubt.
Good pick.
Tell us why.
I mean, he had a great day yesterday. 6 carries, 74 yards, and a touchdown. And, I mean, he just looks good. I would pick him up.
Yeah, I think the Colts seem to be running on all cylinders, and Jonathan Taylor is tearing teams apart. And Nyheim Hines is going to get his time in the backfield, partly because of that. Kasey, I see you agreeing.
I found it interesting, if you watched that game, that even with the Colts comfortably in the lead in the fourth quarter, they still were passing the ball, which meant that Nyheim Hines was still on the field instead of allowing Jonathan Taylor to run out the clock. Frank Reich really appears to like him, so he's somebody you got to look at.
Yeah,
sure.
I like him. I
mean,
him
the other thing to add about Nyheim Hines, a lot of times these NFL teams who have a real good shot to make the playoffs, they're going to start testing out their players and getting them ready to be in position to play in those playoff games. They're not just going to sit Nyheim Hines the whole time. They want to make sure that he knows how to step in. Let's say Jonathan Taylor goes down. That team wants to know that he's there. Nyheim Hines is a perfect example. I think he's a great pickup. Ross, anybody else you would mention?
I'm going to mention, as much as I hate to say a running back from this team, there's like 4 teams that I refuse to start a running back, but this one couldn't change my mind, is Jordan Howard. He's not related to Mo Howard. No relation at all. It's Jordan Howard.
Not related to Ron Howard either.
Ron Howard, he had 17 carries yesterday for 79 yards. He's the main running back there, and it's not Kasey's guy Boston anymore. It's Jordan Howard. And I don't know if Miles Sanders will get his job back when he's healthy in a couple of weeks either. Jordan Howard's running really hard. He's running downhill. I mean, I watched some of that Eagles game, and he looks really good and really motivated. And if you need a running back and he's available on waiver wires this week, he's my number 1 pickup when it comes to running backs, Jordan Howard.
Yep, running downhill. Maybe they constructed the stadium slightly wrong.
That's right.
I wouldn't put it past Philadelphia.
Fields on a slant.
Could be, Doc.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to say somebody who's still at the top of my running backs list, because when I see this guy, I just see some potential fantasy gold. It's not always going to be the case, because Alexander Madison he's completely boom or bust. If he's not starting, he's going to be basically useless. But any week that he is starting, he could be a complete difference maker. You should have him on the back end of your roster. If I had to find like a flex guy, I'd take Nyheim Hines all the way, because Madison's not going to do anything unless he's starting. But you got to have Madison on your bench, and he's down to 47%. He had gone up. Now he's sinking back down. There's Dalvin Cook, almost guaranteed to miss a game or two here. Madison could get you in the playoffs by himself if you just need the 1 win. Case, who would you add to this list?
Devonta Freeman from the Baltimore Ravens. This past week, he had a season-high 13 carries. He ended up with 79 rushing yards, caught a touchdown. He scored a touchdown, I think, now in 3 straight games, if I was looking at the stats correctly, and he's put up double-digit fantasy points in each of those weeks. So apparently John Harbaugh likes him, gets him involved in the offense. Lamar Jackson trusts him, and he's been putting it up pretty consistently.
Ross, anybody else to add to this list?
If James Robinson is not playing this week, I haven't heard anything yet. If he's practicing, we'll find out later in the week. Carlos Hyde for Jacksonville actually had 22 touches, I believe, and he had 77 yards. Again, if Carlos Hyde is the starting running back and Robinson's not playing, pick up Hyde and start him, because 22 touches.
Don't look down your nose at a Jacksonville backup running back. This is the kind of thing that can get you in the playoffs.
That's how James Robinson got the job in the first place.
Yeah,
that's right.
I want to name somebody who now he's 63% owned, so he's a little over our threshold. But this is somebody who we kind of ranked as one of the top handcuffs early in the season, and then he fell out of favor. But Kenyon Drake has been great the last 3 weeks. It seems like it wasn't that he was washed up that we all thought. I think it was just that, Chucky didn't like him. John Gruden didn't like him very much, because with Rick, is it Bisaccia, however you pronounce his name, he's averaging 18 fantasy points per game under him in the 3 games since he's taken over as head coach. So he's over our threshold of 60%, but at 63, he's still widely available. And if you get 18 points a game, that's an RB2 all day, every day, and sometimes an RB1.
And talking about the Raiders, they lost their coach last month because of emails. Stupid. And now they lost their first-round draft picks. Ruggs and Arnett are both
the one
gone.
they released.
in one week.
Well, they released them both.
We released them. They're both gone. So they lost their coach, two first-round draft picks, all in a month. I mean, is this franchise hexed, or what's going on in Las Vegas? I don't know.
Well, that's the problem. They're in Las Vegas.
But Ross, they added a wide receiver, didn't they?
Yeah, they added Desean Jackson, who's way over his highlight. His highlights are over with.
Past his sell-by date.
I mean, he's way past his prime. I mean, I don't think he can even walk. I mean, they signed this guy, and they think this is good. This is their answers to their offense. It's not their answers.
I honestly thought when Ruggs got incarcerated, I guess that would be what you would say there, that OBJ was going to go to Vegas. That seemed like the perfect fit to me when they signed
just put all the criminals in Vegas. Why not?
If you want dysfunction, go to Vegas.
If you have anything in your record that shows that you're a racist or you've done anything bad in your life, come to Las Vegas. No one remembers. No one cares. Come on down. Invite the kids, everybody. What
happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but if it's a crime, you still go to jail.
So one more running back real quick. What about Mark Ingram from the Saints? I mean, they welcomed him back with open arm yesterday against the Falcons. I think they might have a runner there. Who knows?
Listen, one thing that I like is when you've got a good system like that.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons I'm actually hanging on to Dearness Johnson. If Nick Chubb is out for a game, he's going to be a beast. We saw that already. But even if he's not, Dearness Johnson often can provide a touchdown. You could do a lot worse than a desperation play, Dearness Johnson.
The thing about Dearness Young, I say it again, Dearness Johnson is that Hunt is not coming back till after Thanksgiving. I mean, they're going to take their time with him. They're not going to come back too early.
And listen, the Browns protect Nick Chubb by not making him carry the ball all the time. They're going to give him the ball. He's still going to be useful. Guys, I want to just check in with the fans out there. If you guys are out there, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below. We love to have conversations with you. Our rankings also are available each Wednesday at www.mfsn.tv. We look forward to getting to those to you this week. And now we're going to go right into wide receivers. We were already talking about wide receivers a bunch in that segment. So, guys, I have a top guy here that's going to surprise you all. I know you're not going to mention him as the top guy.
I bet I will. Who is it?
We'll see. We'll see.
Ooh,
Hold your horses.
I wonder if it is different than my top guy.
Go ahead, Case. You start.
No, I want to hear yours.
I do too. You teased it. Who is it?
Fine.
You teased it. Let's hear it.
I thought I'd hold it out there and see.
I had this genius idea. I just can't wait.
Guess what it is? OBJ is gone. My top pickup is Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I had him on my list. That's top of the list. I said his name last week.
Top. Was he at the top of your list?
Last week,
Is he at the top of your list?
At me. You said a University of Michigan receiver can never do well in the NFL, and
Okay,
I said
guys,
you're wrong there.
Check the tape on
Michigan
YouTube.
has
I did not
Desmond
like
Howard.
him.
They had a lot of good receivers come out of there, and you argued with me for 10 minutes.
And
now he's the top of your list. What are you doing?
Mario Manningham had one of the best Super Bowl catches ever.
I love that name.
He's a Michigan guy.
But I do think Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be big.
Mr. Jones. Sorry, go ahead.
I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be big. I think OBJ being gone makes them a much more functional offense. Peoples-Jones has been a big target, and he's emerging. He's becoming a really good player. He's only 13% owned. And meanwhile, I should say, I'm comparing him to the waiver wire has been really picked quite dry at this point, but he's on a team where he can have a significant role, and it's a good offense that's going to put up a lot of points.
Okay. I agree with Donovan Peoples-Jones. He wasn't my number one only because I think much to have a wide receiver who's a true number one in that respect. Guess who was the top scoring wide receiver in football last week?
I'm guessing it was Elijah Moore.
It was
Elijah Moore for the Jets.
It was, and he's available in 75% of leagues in Yahoo. So
yeah, but he plays for the Jets.
It doesn't matter.
Yes,
they can get one player the ball.
For the Jets.
All right, I'll take him.
Talk to Jim Janaki. He'll tell you how bad the Jets are.
Yeah, we can't even spell J.
Yes.
I've never heard anybody spell it. Elijah Moore is my second pick.
Okay, fine. Take a Jet. Go ahead, start him. I dare you. Go ahead.
I started him in Super Draft and it paid off.
There you go. And the other guy I would name is Russell Gage in Atlanta with Calvin Ridley being
with Calvin Ridley taking every week off.
Russell Gage is going to be the de facto number one receiver.
Tell me why.
What are you talking about, Ross? Keep your yap shut.
He had no reception.
Jeez.
Now listen, Kasey and I have the same top three. We just have slightly different order.
Yeah,
I know you guys.
Russell Gage is going to get those targets. A lot of them that Calvin Ridley was supposed to get, and he and Kyle Pitts, I think, are two very good weapons, and I think it's proving this. What did he have this last week? 64 yards, 7 receptions. So even in a PPR league, that's 13 points without a touchdown. So
I think all three of those guys are sneaky ads. Go ahead, Jim.
I wonder what the Falcons are going to do with Ridley. I mean, because he seems to be having a lot of personal issues. I mean, this was the third game that he missed this year.
He's not playing. He's done.
He's finished.
He has personal issues. He's talking to some great therapists. One in Cleveland, one in Pennsylvania. These guys are the best in the business.
It's
They're
amazing.
The guy out right now.
Yeah,
he'll be back next year. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, anyway, wide receivers. I was going to say Deontay Harris is a good one to pick up with the Saints. I just think he's got a lot of great moves. Had 6 catches yesterday. So, I mean, he did pretty well. I think he's a great wide receiver with a lot of speed.
One guy I want to add to the list is Van Jefferson.
I would hate to use him on those too.
I mean, he's now the number 3 wide receiver on. I mean, obviously Tyler Higbee might be ahead of him in the pecking order and catching passes, so he could be the number 4 target. But he's got a piece of the Rams' offense, and if there's an injury, look out. That guy.
He scored yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, he's still been putting up numbers.
Jefferson is now their number 3 receiver with Desean Jackson in Vegas now. I'm sure he'll. I still like the Rams, even though they looked horrible yesterday. Another receiver, ever since he's been back, he always gets 6. Every game he has 6 or 7 targets a game. Is Rashad Bateman of the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, this guy, rookie wide receiver class is pretty.
This guy's for real. I mean, 6 targets, 3 games, every game 6 targets. If he keeps getting that up, I mean, that's a great pickup right now, especially right now in the season. If you need a receiver,
I think that's a great pick because a lot of people focus on Brown, and while they're focused on Hollywood Brown, Bateman's getting open and getting some balls. So I think that's a great thing.
Let me just make one other general fantasy point. This is the time of year when rookie wide receivers start to emerge. This is one of the reasons why I'm interested in Elijah Moore. It's not just that he's on the Jets. Sure, that's true. But these guys start to emerge, and Rashad Bateman's one of them too. Meanwhile, Baltimore, they're a totally different team than they usually are. They're not running the ball all the time. They run with Lamar Jackson, and they throw the ball. And I've seen Bateman play. He looks good.
And I feel Baltimore right now is the best team in the AFC. I know, but Dan, you don't
agree.
Like to hear that,
I hate to say it.
I feel that
as a Browns fan, that has to hurt.
Lamar Jackson is playing great, and I feel their running game's getting better, and their defense looks good. If I had to pick a winner right now in the AFC, it's going to be Baltimore. Another name that we see every week, but he had a great game last week, and I want to give Dan Ratner some credit, is Tim Patrick. Yep. He had 86 yards, a touchdown for Denver. Looked unbelievable. He's still under 60%, so he could be somebody that you can go
and by
pick
the
up.
way, he's had at least 12 points in 6 of the 9 games so far this year, so it's not like he's a flash in the pan. He's been doing it pretty consistently.
No, I'm giving Dan Ratner. I never give Dan Ratner any credit at all. I never do. I never say anything nice about him, and never will. But this time, I changed myself, and I decided, yes, he does mention this idiot every week, Tim Patrick, not Dan Patrick, the sportscaster, but Tim Patrick. And Tim Patrick, yes, he is somebody that I'm targeting that I like to pick up this week. Don't tell the rest of the guys in my league, though.
No. Ross, I love how you. First of all, thank you for the credit. I also love how you disclaim things that happened right on the video that everyone can see.
Thank you.
All right, guys, let's jump to tight ends now. It's our favorite position to rag on because you can basically pick up a dead body and you might get the same amount of points as anyone you would pick up. I'm not saying that, as berating these actual players, but there are actually a couple ones out there that I'm interested in.
Me too. Well,
Freiermuth tonight with Pittsburgh, I think is the way to go.
Yep.
I talked to him last week. He was 10% owned last week. He's now 40% owned. People have caught on. And, he was a relatively high draft pick at tight end on a team with a check-down quarterback that scores a fair amount of points.
Yep.
Ross, who do you have?
You knew he's coming back. And
yes, I do.
It's not official. They haven't really announced it because they haven't any practices yet because it's the beginning of the week. Is Logan Thomas is coming back, and he's way under 60%. And
he's not way under 60%. He's
53%.
Close enough. He's way under 60%, as I was saying. And I think Logan Thomas, when he comes back, I think he'll be a number 1 tight end. And I believe that he'll have a pretty good second half of the season. And if you pick him up now, you'll have a big advantage on your fantasy team. So pick him up, Logan Thomas.
Logan
I
Thomas
totally
is a
agree.
good pick.
I think he's the number one pickup at tight end because he's a legitimate starting tight end. When he comes back every week. Now, I know Ross says he's way below 60, and that's 7 points. So now, when you're watching a game with Ross,
to tease it a little bit that he's way below, and then
I know. I just wanted to tease you back. I want to tease you back. Maybe you're watching a football game, the team's down by 7, and he's like, they're way behind.
They can't come back. It's over. All right,
Did you say it's over?
I got to give my New York Giants some props here. Evan Ingram has had 10 double-digit fantasy points in 3 straight games, which at the tight end position is fantasy gold. Is he still a disappointment as a Giants fan? Absolutely. He has been so terribly inconsistent, and he gets hurt a lot. But maybe he's figured it out. Maybe this is a trend. If he can finally hit his stride, kind of get it going the rest of the season, he can be somebody who can be pretty helpful.
I think that's a good pickup. I also would mention, I've been wondering why the Browns are not using David Njoku as they should be, and it seems like they're never going to figure it out. But he's still a decent dart throw. If you're really looking for somebody to start, he's a guy who could put up big points out of nowhere. He can also put up a dud, but you're going to get that at tight end a lot of the time. Anybody else we want to mention?
One more, and Ross talked about his favorite quarterback, the long flowing blonde hair of Trevor Lawrence. Well, his top target this past week was Dan Arnold, the tight end there in Jacksonville. And he caught 4 receptions for 60 yards, which is 10 points. Again, double digits out of a tight end. If he's the volume receiver because he can't get it down to Marvin Jones or Laviska Shenault or Jamal Agnew or one of those other targets, Dan Arnold has been somebody who's been laboring around 40%. Where is he now? He's at 27% owned in Yahoo. So that's another tight end you could pick up.
You could do a lot worse. All right, guys, let's move to defenses now. Remember, defenses, it can be hard to predict. I keep starting teams against the Jets, and they just are doing totally middling because the Jets are actually doing decently because of Elijah Moore and people like that, and Michael Carter, who we've been talking up. Who do you have below 60% owned? Case, why don't you take a stab at it first?
I think the top defense that's under 60% owned coming into this week is Denver going against the Philadelphia Eagles because we've seen the Eagles be anemic on offense for at least 3/4 of every game, and if and they can turn the ball over. So that would be probably my top pickup defensively at home against Philadelphia next week.
And Ross, who do you like?
I'm going to say something crazy. If I said this beginning of the season, both Jim and Kasey and you would just think I'm like something's wrong with me. Like you would call the paramedics or call the mental ward to get me committed. That's how bad this.
We have plenty of reasons.
What makes you think we haven't already? Wait a minute. I thought there was
nothing to do with your fantasy sports.
You guys would use your power as doctors and get the mental health people immediately. So I'm saying the Raiders versus Kansas City. I'll take the Raiders defense. Kansas City has the most turnover. They're like 32 in every category when it comes to like turning the ball over. They're the worst. They have no running game. The running game's like a joke. We talk about it here all the time. It's the worst. Their passing game is horrible. I mean, I don't know if you watched the past 3 weeks, Kasey Scheinfeld, but it's an embarrassment. And for this guy to make $500 million and he's barely winning games and he's throwing 10 interceptions already this season, leading the league, I'm taking the Las Vegas Raiders.
Listen, I mean, they've been truly anemic. Things are falling apart there, and I knew you were going to say it when you said the thing about getting committed to a mental hospital with what you're going to say. I was like, I know what he's going to say. I'm going to pick against the Chiefs.
But Ross, I think talking about the Chiefs offense that way kind of undermines a little bit how good the Green Bay defense has been the past few weeks and how well they're playing right now, and they're going against Seattle next week.
Yeah, but Russell Wilson is back.
Russell Wilson is back, but
whoa.
Okay.
They're not starting.
I'll tell you what.
Geno
do you want to have a side bet about which defense outscores which, the Raiders or the Packers?
I like this.
Okay, I'll bet that. You got.
We'll let Jim and Dan decide the stakes.
I'll take that bet anytime, any day, anywhere. Russell Wilson playing against anybody he's back. Okay. So all bets down on Green Bay's great defense.
Hey, you want to talk great defenses for this week? I'll tell you the great defense for this week. Tennessee against New Orleans. Tennessee's defense is looking very, very strong. I mean, that's amazing to me.
That Simmons guy, I don't know if you guys watched the Rams game. Simmons had 3 sacks and those guys were, they just
absolutely killed the Rams. I mean, they were just amazing. And then so they gave up 16 against the Rams. They only gave up 3 points to the Chiefs. I mean, these guys are on a roll.
They are, and I think the most underrated defense in the league is the Tennessee Titans. No one respects their defense at all. I agree. I would never pick their defense up until now. I mean, you're right. It's a good time to pick them up, and I just love how everybody's going to flock to the Raiders' defense this week. That's the funny thing against probably the most valued offense in the league before the season started. I mean, I'm going to ask you guys a question. Tyreek Hill, if you had him on your team, would you still start him? Kasey, yes or no?
Yes.
Are we playing? Are we playing in a 2-team league?
No, it's a lot. Let's say you pick up.
Who are my other options?
You pick up your favorite Jet, Elijah Moore, and you have Elijah Moore.
I have to pick one of them. I'm picking Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
Just because I'm recommending Elijah Moore as the top pickup this week doesn't mean I pick him over Tyreek Hill.
You have to start Tyreek Hill until the end of the season at the very least.
I would consider not starting Tyreek Hill. That's how bad and how down I am on the Kansas City offense.
I don't think so, though. I think the quick slants that Tyreek does. I mean, I think he is just a great target that way.
And again, if I picked him in the first round, I'd be crying like if I picked whoever picked Patrick Mahomes in the first round must be a complete idiot. Anybody, you guys know anybody?
Wait, hold on,
that?
Ross. That's hilarious. You said that because we have a comment coming in from the fans that kind of piggybacks on this. Chris Atwater, one of our favorite
SEC
fans,
man, I like him a lot. Yeah, he was at my wedding.
And he was at my wedding. Not
oh, sorry, I get confused.
One of those.
He gets very confused.
Ross was
very drunk at his wedding and thought he was at
my wedding too.
So Chris says, I agree. Now, he says, I agree with random dude. Jim Ginocchio is not a random dude, Chris. He's one of our co-hosts very regularly on the show now. And he's
Jim
great.
Ginocchio
probably the most knowledgeable of all of us.
Probably.
Sports
but he says,
host and caster around the world.
He says, I don't know in terms
Chris
of
Atwater,
Tennessee.
Do your homework, Chris Atwater.
He said, I don't know in terms of Tennessee, but I will tell you this, Jim. That was the team I was looking at. If it came to me next, that was my next team up. First of all, Tennessee's been playing really well, but also New Orleans is not in the best state right now. They really aren't. They're in flux.
They lost at home to Atlanta.
They lost at home to the Falcons. So what do you think Tennessee's going to do to them?
So
Cordell Peterson had like the time of his life.
He did, and Cordero Patterson also had a good game.
That's him, Cordero Patterson. I get them mixed up.
I'm just kidding. You set me up so well for that one. I appreciate it. But guys, I don't actually have a defense to add to this list.
No, I think we gave the public we give them 3 good ideas. I think we're good.
I think that's good. So now let's get into kickers for a little bit, and then maybe we'll do a little buy low, buy, sell, and hold. Kickers, who do you got?
Well, I'll start with Randy Bullock with Tennessee because, I mean, the Tennessee offense, the defense, the way they're playing, the field advantage that they're getting during the game, I think Bullock's going to get a lot of tries on the field, and I think he's going to get a lot of points. I really do. I think Bullock's a good one to grab a hold of on Tennessee.
Okay, I'm going to jump in with Greg Joseph, the Minnesota kicker. Mm-hmm. The Chargers give up tons of points. Joseph's been very, very consistent. He also hits from 50 yards out regularly. I don't know how he's 32% owned, but I think it has to do with the fact that kickers are not highly valued. That's my guess. Now, Chris Atwater says, my NOLA boys are in trouble. And Chris Atwater is a huge Saints fan. So for him to say that tells you something.
Yeah, they have no quarterback. It's a joke. I mean,
I don't know. Taysom Hill's back this week. We'll see.
We'll see. I'm always pulling for Chris and the Saints because Chris is such a good dude. I'm a true fan.
I like Chris Boswell this week for Pittsburgh, the kicker, going against Detroit. Detroit has shown that they can give up a fair amount of points in their games, and I just think Pittsburgh's going to run the ball a lot and score and have some field goals, so I just see him getting 2 or 3 field goals and 2 or 3 extra points.
And listen, if there's one kicker who's not likely to be called to do a fake field goal that turns into a concussion, it's him. I think they've learned their lesson.
That's right. I watched that game.
Yeah, that was
happened once. It won't happen again.
The Browns couldn't beat the Steelers, and they had no kicker, and we knew it. That was pretty frustrating to watch. Ross, any kicker to add?
Well, I had Boswell too, and Joseph. You guys nailed it right on the head. I mean, is Justin Tucker? Is he Is he over 60%? No.
Oh, yeah.
No way.
He is over 60%.
I think he's
over
100%. I mean,
He's
the best kicker in the league,
down to 98%. He was 100% owned. Some people were like,
but overall, I mean, I love Prater. I think he's over 60% now. I've been saying his name the whole year.
82%.
I love
MFSN friend.
You know, again, I mean, Koo is unbelievable for Atlanta. I think he missed one field goal throughout the whole year. But overall, I think with Joseph and Boswell, that those two guys are unbelievable. I like them.
I guess I'll also mention Ryan Suckup. You know, he's on a great team. The problem is they just are scoring touchdowns all the time. So
that's a big problem. But they're coming off a bye. Maybe Brady's a little rusty. You never know.
I mean, they also could blow out Washington and just kick field goals just for fun.
Right.
You know, it could happen.
Yeah.
All right, now, Case, you had mentioned you have some games.
I wanted to give you a player A and a player B. One is
that's right.
Owned over 98%. One is owned under or 60 or under. And I wanted you to try to figure out who each was. And I'm going to do two at quarterback to start. So quarterback A has 1,540 in the last 4 games. Has 1,549 yards passing with 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 22 yards rushing and no touchdowns. Quarterback B has 1,278 passing yards with 12 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, but also added a rushing touchdown on 53 yards. Quarterback A is 99% owned. Quarterback B is 60% owned.
Wow. Ross, any guesses about this?
The 99% one is Tom Brady, and the 60% one is Carson Wentz.
Ooh, that's good. It's definitely Carson Wentz for the.
It is
the
definitely
60%.
Carson Wentz. You're right on quarterback B.
Okay, 99%
It's
be
not Tom Brady.
Patrick Mahomes.
Must be Mahomes then, yeah.
Nope.
I don't think
Matthew Stafford.
so. Ooh,
Matthew Stafford.
Oh,
So
Very good.
the number 2 ranked running back quarterback in fantasy football for the past 4 weeks is only 60% owned.
Wait, say it again.
The number 2 fantasy quarterback in
rated fantasy
football for the
quarterback
last
is
4
only
weeks is
60%
only
owned.
60% owned.
Yep. Okay.
That's
Now,
amazing.
wait, hold on. We have a comment from Chris Atwater again.
Okay.
What's this genius? I can't wait to hear this genius comment. What is it?
Chris Atwater is a genius. I'm just going to say it. Now,
He's smarter than all of us.
he says, is Taysom a quarterback? Not really. I want to add Deontay Harris as a kicker. He does everything else, so... And then he says, Koo is Georgia Southern. Go Sunbelt. Chris Atwater knows more who went to college even than Ross, which is saying something.
How disappointing! Yeah, right. How disappointing was Jordan Love yesterday? Did you guys watch any of that Green Bay game yesterday?
I did not get to see it.
I mean, and then they showed his family sitting in the last row on the top of the deck. It was like, what was going on?
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was
get
pretty
it.
crappy. Kansas City gave his family the worst seats in the house.
I thought maybe they just slowly moved up to try to get out of the stadium.
It could be. All right. Wide receiver. Player A. This is the last 4 weeks. 93% owned. 29 receptions for 272 yards and a touchdown. Player B. Only 25% owned. 19 receptions for 296 yards and 2 touchdowns. Actually outscoring the 93% over the last 4 weeks.
And what was the percentage ownership of the second one?
93% and 25%.
25%. Wow. Jim, any guesses?
boy, I don't know.
These aren't going to be easy ones to guess. Quarterbacks are probably going to be the only ones you can really guess.
Yeah, I knew that was
Wide
Carson Wentz.
receivers,
That's a tough one.
that is a tough one.
And the
I'm trying to remember
93%
some of the
owned
numbers.
doesn't deserve to be 93% owned, by the way, but his name still carries value. And I think
It's
that's the
not
point of this
OBJ.
exercise. No, it's not OBJ. That's the point of this exercise, to explain that just because somebody has a big name, like you can move them and find just as good of a performer much lower on the pecking order.
Interesting.
Receiver A is Brandon Cooks of the Houston Texans, 93% owned. Receiver B is somebody we've talked about and just mentioned earlier today, Ross, Tim Patrick of the Denver Broncos. So
How about that?
I mean,
You
now this exercise is really good just because you realize that even though if you don't have a superstar on your team, doesn't mean like you can't get the same stats out of somebody who's less.
And not only that, but this shows why we have this waiver wire show in the first place. You've got to be adding talent throughout.
right.
You got to add talent. I mean,
Okay.
Yesterday was a great example. I mean, no one performed up to. There was like most of the guys that are superstars did not perform up to their name at all. Right. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, so I'll name one more. We'll do running backs. The running back A, 100% owned.
Okay.
280 yards rushing and a touchdown, 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. Running back B, only 13% owned. Only has 54 yards rushing and a touchdown, but has 200 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. So he's actually only being outscored by maybe 5.5 points on over the 4 weeks.
Okay, wait, what was the percentage of the
100%
and
13%?
So Jonathan Taylor's the 100% one, correct?
No.
I think it's going to be Alvin Kamara.
No.
Okay, it's Zeke Elliott.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so Zeke Elliott. So the next one I'm going to say
is from Ross's least favorite fantasy-wise football team.
Michael Carter.
Oh, Michael Carter, the Jets?
No, the Jets are the right team, but it's actually Ty Johnson.
What?
Ty Johnson. Ty was Chevy Chase's name in Caddyshack. I don't think you guys knew that.
You want to tie me up with some of those ties, Ty? Yes, I do.
My only response to that is no.
They also had Lacey, and there was also Lacey Underalls.
Well, guys,
great movie, guys.
Fantastic.
I love this though. This really makes me think. I love this.
Case, I think we need to bring this one back.
Way to go, Kasey.
Well done, guys. We gave everybody the players they need to pick up. I think we're ready to keep them ahead of the curve. Remember, we're getting to that time. You got to keep picking these players up.
And remember, the Bengals are not playing this week, so no Chase, no Burrow, no Mixon. You gotta figure out what you're doing this week.
I know one thing I'm doing. I'm not going to be picking Joe Burrow again.
Oh my God, I know. He burned me last week.
Hey, I had to start Josh Allen. I started Josh Allen in one of my leagues. So.
Ouch. Little fantasy tip before you leave. Don't start Josh Allen the rest of the year. That's my other tip, too.
Yeah, that's the other one. Oh, my gosh.
I'm still going to.
All right. I think Kasey and I will side on going to. Jim, where are you on starting Josh Allen? That's more wishy-washy.
I think we should equivocate. I think we should start Josh Allen.
I think in all seriousness, you should start him. But if I had a backup quarterback that had a weak opponent, I might consider about starting him.
Yeah. Ross is going to have the strongest bench of all time with Josh Allen and Tyreek Hill.
Hey, you know what the good thing about Josh Allen is this next week? Is that he doesn't have to worry about Josh Allen. So I think he's going to have a great week.
Right. There's no defense of Josh Allen in his face. Okay, guys. This was great. Good job, as always. We will be back next Monday at 8:45 p.m. Eastern, 5:45 p.m. Pacific. We'll have your picks for the following week. We wish you luck. Don't forget to check our rankings out on www.mfsn.tv. We'll have all the picks for you to figure out, jostling for position, who you're going to start. Take a look at our rankings. We'll help you out. We'll see you next week.
Hey, Mishka, this new Kill Cliff Grape CD is called The Goat is the Bomb.com, baby. Y'all just blew up my drink hole. Woo-hoo! Once you get that goat up in ya, ooh, that's when the magic happens. Man, that escalated quickly. Real science plus killer taste equals Kill Cliff CBD.